Defense Authorization Act that Obama has called for and signed stipulates that even American citizens can now be targeted by the military, picked up, and imprisoned.
I'm not infected. I'm not infected. Please.
Nothing happened the way it was supposed to happen. 6 billion people on Earth when the infection hit. God didn't do this. We did.
Isn't it amazing? The Bible clearly says they will seek death and death will flee from them. It also says they'll fall upon the sword and not die. So imagine you're given this mark of the beast and it changes your DNA. You have super DNA, which would explain how they fall upon the sword and not die. They'll seek death and death will flee from them. Imagine someone jumps off a 5-story building to commit suicide. They break every bone in their body and they just lay there in agony. Oh, please, death come. Death will flee from them. But this whole plan, I mean, you know, they can try to blame it on a virus. Oh, the virus that... Check out this phenomenal revelation about the zombie apocalypse. You probably think, oh, that's science fiction, that's make-believe. But we know that the Luciferians, they like to put truth and their plans right in front of your face. And they use Hollywood and movies to do it. Now check this out. Mary Kay Baxter, a long time ago, she has this supernatural dream and vision where she saw America had been attacked. It had been defeated, occupied. Its judgment had came. After that, she saw these beast-like people. They were given the mark of the beast, and then later on they become a flesh-eating beast.
Now, I know how this may sound to the untrained ear, but the elites love to tell us what's coming in advance through their media outlets because they are satanic. And if you find this hard to believe, think of the movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where people were brutally murdered in real life, and years later, the satanic directors and actors made a movie on it for our entertainment, for profit. Do I have your attention now? Let's move on. So the CDC says we need to prepare for a zombie apocalypse right after a worldwide government power grab on the citizens because of a virus that we all know was engineered by man for the useless eaters. So they can ultimately get us vaxxed with this mRNA DNA changes virus that takes orders from these 5G towers. Now, just as in the movie I Am Legend, where the vaccine mutated and made people lose their ways and become mindless beasts who fed off the living. Now, some believe this is possible, and it's not just conspiracy theorists. Medical doctors and scientists agree that mixing certain viruses together can make a zombie scenario possible. Now, if you didn't know, the Nazis were in fact trying to make a zombie-like virus where they can make their men resistant to death. They even created a drug that made their soldiers super strong on the battlefield. And we all know they lost that war. And all their technology and scientists were moved to the United States. But let's stick to what we know. Rabies. The rabies virus is a highly virulent and deadly disease that infects a wide variety of specimens, spreading through the human fluids such as saliva, usually in the form of bites from infected animals. After infections, the host presents numerous symptoms as the disease acts on the central nervous system, which includes anxiety, restlessness, confusion, hallucinations, paralysis, involuntary muscle contractions, uncontrolled perspiration or salivation, but the most dangerous symptoms include anger, increased agitation, and violence. So who's to say the elites have not already spliced this virus with another, and why is it that the news outlets are talking about this as if it could really be a possibility? Why are they sending out zombie alerts to cell phones during power outages? And yes, if you know my channel, we talk about EMPs being on their list of agendas, but they put zombie and power outages together as a possibility, kind of like the fake ballistic missile threat in Hawaii. Now, are they tossing us hints? I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. And we can't forget to mention that the government agencies such as the Department of Defense, who developed the entire training course intended for the Joint Operational Planning and Execution Systems and the Complete Response Plan on the zombie apocalypse, called CONPLAN 888. And there is 2 documents released by the NSA through the Freedom of Information Act that states the purpose of the plan, according to the United States Strategic Command, aka the US STRATCOM, was to use the fictitious scenario to prepare for real-world emergencies. And yes, you can find these PDFs online. So the CDC commented and said they say zombie apocalypse to get the attention of the youth so they can be better prepared. But we all know that's bullshit because they hate preppers, which is why they have a database on all preppers. And I hear they're going to be using the NDAA Act to round up preppers and take their supply. You see, they don't want us to be self-efficient, but dependent on the system. Now back on topic. So could there possibly be a zombie-style apocalypse in our near future, or is it just a metaphor? Now, will they be coming from the grave? No, of course not, but the living can surely go crazy with the right kind of virus. I mean, you've seen the Resident Evil and Chinese logo matching up at the beginning days of the coronavirus. Now that should have been a dead giveaway, but I digress. Yet again. Now we all remember the case in Florida, right, where the man was eating off another man's face and they claimed bath sauce made him become a cannibal. Here's a refresher if you can't remember.
The gruesome face-eating attack in Miami could be part of a trend, an example of something larger and much more dangerous. Miami police say they've seen similar cases recently of people behaving strangely and showing what appears to be superhuman strength. Over the weekend, Rudy Eugene attacked a 65-year-old homeless man, chewing off most of his face. Police say he was probably high on a drug known as bath salts. And we have to warn you now, we have new pictures in tonight. They are disturbing. Police say Eugene was naked, that he was growling like an animal. He was shot and killed by police when he refused to stop, but it took multiple shots. That's leading to the descriptions of what seems to be superhuman strength.
Now that we got all the real proof out of the way, check out this 8-minute video that sums everything up, and some.
Most of you have never heard of the Zombie Hazard Unit. Those of you who have will try in vain to find me after you see this. For the rest of you, the activities of this top secret working group have never before been revealed until now. They don't want you to know they exist. There are those of us in the community who feel the public has a right to know of the imminent threat we all face. The following is a briefing, covertly recorded, of the Zombie Hazard Unit at work.
All right, take your seats, everyone. We need to get this meeting started. Before we begin, we'll make sure that everybody has picked up their copy of the briefing notes. There are more details. I'm going to give you the outline. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've called this special meeting of the Zombie Hazard Command because we have vital new information and new problems to discuss. Go through some security. Bear with me a moment. All right, first, a little housekeeping. National Security Order 21Z, it passed. Our operational authority is supreme. Use it. Now back to the topic at hand. As you know, we've been battling a unique biological threat and we've made little progress. Lack of any live specimens. If a body's found at all, it's already permanently dead. Now, we finally have a live specimen. But before you get too excited, let me stress that it's only one. We need more. So why does this problem exist? Well, the reason for problem number one is problem number two. We have an unknown assailant or assailants. Unknown assailant profile. We have no leads as to the identity of the assailant. Ballistics are untraceable. That's not exactly true. We do know at least most of the time they're using Z-Max ammunition. Weapons in use are 9mm, 45 caliber, and edged weapons. Probable gender, male. Body type, they're strong, muscular, athletic. They're well armed and well trained with munitions. They have a possible military or police background, and they're probably skilled in a variety of martial arts to include hand-to-hand combat. If you're on scene, look for someone fitting this profile. Apprehend if possible, eliminate if necessary. For you jokers out there, I know this describes everyone on the Z teams, so know your team members. Problem number three, identification of infectious agent. Here's where it gets interesting. We now have research notes from a top U.S. scientist who is intimately familiar with a zombie infection. He studied both the pre- and post-mortem zombie condition before PD. He has identified and named the virus, Cryptonecrophagia vulgaris, CNV. It's a retrovirus, and there's no cure. This scientist's notes indicate prions may also be involved in the infectious process. However, at this point it remains unclear what, if any, role they play. Remember the single live subject I mentioned earlier? Unfortunately, the subject and scientist are one and the same. We do not know how much time he has left before he's no longer of any use, except perhaps for dissection. So we need more live specimens. Keep that in mind during operations. Problem number 4, mode of transmission, currently unknown. Transmission modes ruled out: bites, scratches, casual contact, vector infection, droplet, or airborne spread. Some Z team members can attest to the fact that bites and scratches don't spread infection, at least not yet. To date, 12 team members have been wounded while engaged in field operations. They've undergone mandatory 90-day quarantine. None have showed any signs of infection. Not all team members are out of quarantine yet, but we hope they'll be released and return to active duty soon. Problem number 5, emerging public awareness of the situation. I'm going to mention each of these points, then talk about them in greater detail. There are things you need to know. First, the Coconut Grove fly-in. Many of you were there. Then there's the Miami incident. Some of you were there. The CDC Zombie Apocalypse Preparedness Release. DHS released a fake zombie preparedness story. Then there's the recent purchases of large quantities of ammunition. About the Coconut Grove fly-in, Z Teams 1, 2, and 3 cleaned down a zombie cell. That got a lot of public attention. Our cover story was that this was an urban assault exercise in preparation for the upcoming UN meeting. For now, our cover story is holding, but one got away. That led to the Miami incident. That should never have happened. About the Miami incident. Some of you were there. Our cover story was bath salts. That was blown when the autopsy results were leaked. There were no bath salts present. We're still dealing with the fallout, and we're investigating the leak. The CDC Zombie Apocalypse Preparedness Release, it was sent out against our wishes. Then they changed their story. This brought even more attention to it than if they'd just left it alone. Next, DHS released a fake zombie preparedness story, also against our wishes, but it's out there, so we're going to use it as our cover story. Next month, DHS is running a 1,000-person training exercise in San Diego. Z Teams 2, 4, and 5 will be doing a cleanup operation in another part of the city at the same time. This gives us plausible deniability. I shouldn't have to stress how important this is. Make certain none of them get away. We don't want another Miami incident. About the ammo purchases. We've used news and various media outlets to float the idea that unprecedented large ammo purchases are for government agencies to defend against civil unrest in anticipation of economic collapse. Those of you in this room know all too well that this is a much nicer bedtime story than the truth. Reality is much less pleasant. Right now, the cover story is working. Problem number 6, weakening of current cover stories. Bath salts. In Florida, bath salts was a go-to drug of choice. The autopsy leak created problems for this story. Other drugs, synthetic marijuana and S21, were floating these in Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Crazy people were floating this idea in Louisiana, New York, and Chicago. Animal attacks were floating this story in Georgia, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. We estimate 2 years of viability for these cover stories. Finally, problem number 7, public distribution of full disclosure of current operations. Some brainiac has lined up all the recent events and past history like beads on a string. We don't know where he's getting his information, but too much of the actual facts of our operation are woven into the story. It's not coincidence. He's getting his information somewhere. The story is Dr. Eve Zombie Killer. It's presented as a fictional novel. LabyrinthOfArts.com is an independent website where the book can be found. For those of you who are wondering, we currently have no plans to shut down this website. We need to gather further intelligence, find out what their sources of information are, and plug whatever leaks we find. Right now, John Q. Public does not know what's happening. We'd like to keep it that way. If you have any questions, I'll address them in my office after the meeting. We now have the facts as we understand them. This briefing is adjourned. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good day.
Now, is this footage real or fake? I don't know. You be the judge. All I know is if there's a real zombie virus, you probably have to be injected with it. Kind of like how there was a hepatitis scare worldwide and they offer free vaccines, and shortly after there's COVID. Makes you wonder. And now Gates and his left-hand man Fauci so desperately wants us vaccinated, and I don't care for what reason. I ain't taking that risk. But if there ever was a zombie apocalypse, would it be The Walking Dead or World War Z? I hope it's The Walking Dead, because if it's the Z, we're screwed. Till next time, God bless.
End time vision a woman had that goes with my testimony. And what I saw was in the end times, a twofold revelation. I saw when the church was caught out, okay? And then I saw the world, and the American flag was burned, cracked and burned, and I saw army troops all over the world. And I said, Lord, where's the Christians? And he said, look, and I couldn't see no one praising God. I saw army trucks come in and with guns and barracuda, you know, these all kind of stuff, and putting people in big trucks, taking them to places to be tormented. I saw people with marks on their head, 360s up here, and or either on their hand. And the people that would not take the mark were beheaded in big gallows with their heads chopped off. I saw awful, awful things on the face of this earth. I saw beasts that looked like part man and part beast walking around.
This book to many people. I've given the tape to many people too. When I go and minister to different places in different cities, I tell everybody about the testimony of hell, because a lot of ministers, well, you have a lot of ministers preaching and a lot of ministers not. The darkness is out now, is prosperity, faith, and all that's beautiful and fine, everything decent and order. But in order for the Lord to take someone for 40 straight days and show them something like this here, it means that it's close to his heart, that it's something that the Christians are doing wrong. To his husband I led to the Lord. He was on one of our videos, Brother Thomas, and we led him to the Lord about 4 years ago. His wife got saved too, and I gave them the book and they read it, and immediately after they began to read the book, it shook them up so much. The next night the sister went to bed, and immediately she said she woke up in his dream, in her dream, she woke up and her and her husband was looking for their little kids. They have 2 children. And she woke up looking for them, but she couldn't find them. And she woke up her husband in the dream, and he looked, they ran outside, and once they ran outside, it was other individuals running outside also looking for their kids too. And she said she looked up in the air, and she seen hundreds of thousands of people, most of them was kids, that were going up in the air. And the voice said, this is the rapture, they're taken away. She said all of a sudden out of nowhere, just like your vision, Miss Baxter, she said the army trucks began to come all over America and begin to bum rush the territories in the city, all different cities, and they took trucks and began to take people out their household and put them in these trucks. They took them to these buildings, remind her of she said, of an aid office where you receive financial aids or whatever the situation might be. And she said they would sit them down and begin to tell them that you must take this mark. If you don't take this mark, that you are going to be killed. And she said she seen a group of people running around saying they was Christian. They began to praise the Lord and chant, Jesus is Lord. And the more they began to chant Jesus was Lord, they began to snatch them off in different rooms. And she said she heard them being tormented in different rooms, crying and hollering and screaming out Jesus. She said, Lord, well, wait a minute. I'm a Christian. What am I doing here? He said, I pray to you. I was in your word. And she said, the voice spoke back to her and said, the reason you're here, Mickey, is because you didn't preach my word. She said, well, Lord, why's my husband here? He said, the reason your husband is here because he had unforgiveness in his heart. I would like for y'all to know there's many people right now that's Christians that have unforgiveness in their heart, some against a brother or sister, some against a mother or father, some that know the word of God, that go to church every Sunday but are afraid to preach the gospel. Okay, she said from there they let her go to the washroom area, and she said they gave them 3 minutes to do what they had to do. She said that the water would come on, and then the water come on, people was washing their hairs, and ladies got soap in her eyes, and she began to cry that she wanted to take the mark because she couldn't get the soap out of her water immediately cut off. Mickey told her, you can have my water. And from there, she said, don't take the mark. She came back out and she seen a special bulletin on the TV, bedded in the wall like a hospital room. And on the television set, it was a special bulletin that came on. It was a man with a sneaky smile talking about, yes, hundreds of people, 1,000 all over, missing all over the nation. Could this be the rapture? He was sarcastic. Could this be Jesus coming back? He said, nah, I doubt it. He said, wait a minute, let's have a word from our president. She said all of a sudden she seen the president, and this time Bush hadn't lost when she had this dream. Bush hadn't lost the presidency, but she said it wasn't Bush. She said the Lord covered up his face, and the only thing she seen was his hand and heard his voice. And he was lying to the public. And everybody was buying it. She said all of a sudden they snatched her up. They told her come. And they began to march down a single line down this tunnel. And this tunnel they was walking through, she heard voices of different individuals crying and screaming out to Jesus, Jesus, have mercy, Lord, I love you, I'm gonna die for you, Jesus, I'm gonna die, and just get cut off. She said she began to march down the stream, and she seen at the other end of the tunnel, there was hundreds of them going across. She said when they got over to the other building, it was a whole room of guillotines. And the guillotine, people was actually getting their heads cut off. She said the people that was taking the mark of the beast, when they took it on their right hand, it immediately appeared on their forehead. And she said you can see that thing in the spirit and in the physical. She said you can see it. She said when she walked over towards the next building, she seen a whole bunch of people, she said people thought they was regular human beings, but they was really demon spirits.
Yes.
They had black capes on, hoods over their face, but their eyes was like demon eyes, and their hands was made out of snake skin, like you said about the heart of hell.
Yes.
She said with snake skin, these demons was cold-blooded killers. And the Lord spoke and said, that's what my word means when it said, warn to the inhabitants on the earth, that Satan have came amongst you with great wrath because he knows his time is short. This is demon spirit manifesting in the flesh, act like people, but they have the heart to kill people. And she said they began to take people and chop their head off. And they chopped her and her husband's head off, and her spirit immediately went up into the heavens. She said she was up there with the children and other people.
Jesus.
But the thing about this dream, Miss Baxter, was that the people that was up in heaven, her kids, the age was 1.5, and his dream was 3.5 years later. They were like 3 and 4 years old. Like it's right around the corner. I'm not saying that that's accurate in what day will come to pass. I'm saying this here, warning come before destruction. If the watchmen see the sword coming, we don't blow the trumpet, the Bible said their blood should be on our hand. That's why what you said, Ms. Baxter, is very important for the public to understand this is no joke. Jesus is coming back soon.